Henry Walsh sat in his corner office, the city skyline fading into a soft purple haze beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, his desk buried under a chaos of reports that told a story he didn't want to believe. Store 12, the heart of WalshTech, the flagship his father Thomas opened 40 years ago, was crumbling, sales down 15%, customer complaints stacking up like unpaid bills, words like rude staff and ignored glaring from the screen like accusations. Henry's fingers lingered on a faded photograph. Thomas standing proud in front of Store 1, apron crisp, eyes bright with a fire that seemed to say, "This is ours." His father's voice echoed in his mind. A store is its people, not its products. A mantra Thomas lived by, shaking every employee's hand, knowing their kids' birthdays, their struggles, their dreams. Henry, now 58, felt that legacy slipping through his fingers like sand, his chest tightening at the thought of failing the man who'd built everything from nothing. The spreadsheets on his monitor screamed red. Store 12's numbers were a slow bleed. He scrolled through feedback. No one helped me, felt invisible. Staff didn't care. Henry leaned back, jaw tight, remembering his father's hands, calloused but gentle, handing out paychecks with a nod that said, "You're part of this now." The stores were run by systems, by MBAs like Richard, his VP, who swore by dashboards, and KPs promising fixes in polished emails, new protocols. More training, but they were bandages on a broken bone. Henry's own visits to Store 12 were sterile, announced with managers scrubbing the floors and scripting smiles, hiding the truth under a veneer of competence. He opened Richard's latest report, conversion rates stable, upsell ratios promising, lies, or at best, half-truths. Henry's gaze fell back to the photo, Thomas's smile a quiet rebuke. He remembered summers as a boy, trailing his father through Store 1, watching him kneel to help a customer pick a radio. Now, as CEO, he felt the weight again, heavier, sharper. He'd trusted systems too long, let middlemen filter the truth. Enough. He pulled out his phone, dialed Marie, an old friend who dressed actors for the local theater. "I need a disguise," he said, voice low but steady. "Old man, slow, someone nobody notices." Marie laughed, then paused, her voice softening. "You're serious, Henry?" He stared at Thomas's photo, the edges worn from years of handling. "I need to see what they see." Marie agreed, promising a wig, glasses, age spots, the works. He set the photo down gently, as if it might shatter, and leaned forward, eyes sharp. Store 12 wasn't just a number on a chart. It was his father's dream, his family's heart. He'd see it for himself. No filters, no excuses, just the raw truth of what it had become. The city lights blinked outside, but Henry didn't notice. His mind already on the store, on the people who'd forgotten what it meant to care. Henry Walsh, now George, shuffled through the glass doors of Store 12. The morning light catching the smudged panes, his heart thudding with a mix of dread and determination. The disguise felt heavy, grey wig itching under the fluorescent glow, thick glasses fogging slightly. Inside, the store gleamed with polished displays, screens flashing deals. No one looked up. Ethan, a young employee with earbuds dangling, leaned against the counter, scrolling through his phone, his laughter sharp against the hum of overhead lights. Marcus, another staff member, stood near the TVs, his back to the floor, adjusting a display with half-hearted taps. Henry paused, adjusting his glasses, letting his eyes wander as if lost, waiting for a greeting that never came. He felt small, not just in stature but in presence, invisible in a way that stung more than he'd expected. Shuffling toward the tablet section, he stopped at a sleek model, its sign boasting a weekend promo, $499. His fingers brushed the tag, the price clear, bold, unmistakable. Ethan sauntered over, thumbs still tapping his phone before pocketing it, his voice flat. "Need something?" Henry pointed, voice soft, trembling just enough. "This one, for my granddaughter. She's in college, needs it for classes." Ethan barely glanced at the tag. "That's $799, good deal for what you get." Henry blinked, squinting at the sign. "Says $499 here." Ethan shrugged, chewing gum, his eyes drifting back to his phone. "Tag's old, they mess up the signs all the time. It's $799 now." No scan, no hesitation, just a casual dismissal that landed like a slap. Henry pressed, his voice quieter, almost pleading. "Could you check the system, just to be sure?" Ethan sighed, loud and impatient. I know the prices, man. It's $799. Take it or leave it. He turned, already walking away, leaving Henry standing alone. The tag's $499 staring back like a broken promise. Across the aisle, a mother wrestled with a toddler, her eyes scanning for help that didn't come. An older man lingered by the headphones, holding 2 boxes, his shoulders slumping as Marcus passed without a glance. Then, a soft voice broke through. "Excuse me, sir, I overheard." Clara, her name tag slightly crooked, approached with a cautious smile, her ponytail swinging as she knelt slightly to meet Henry's gaze. "That tablet's $499, the sign's correct. It's a weekend deal." She moved to a terminal, fingers quick but calm, pulling up the system. "See, right here, $499 until midnight." Her tone wasn't pushy, just clear, like she was handing him a small gift. Henry nodded, his voice still soft. He said it was more. Clara's brow furrowed, not dramatic, just enough to show she cared. "That's not right. I'm sorry. Let me hold it for you if you're interested." She didn't sell, didn't upsell, just offered truth. Henry watched her walk back to the counter, her step steady, her presence a quiet anchor in the store's drift. He moved to a bench near the service desk, pulling a small notepad from his jacket, his hands trembling not from age but from clarity. He wrote, "Ethan lied. No check, no care. Marcus, invisible. No effort. Clara, honest, present." Clara, though, moved through it, helping a man with a cracked phone, her voice patient as she explained options. Henry's pen paused. She wasn't just doing her job, she was holding on to something this store had lost: his father's belief that every customer mattered, every moment counted. He tucked the notepad away, his eyes sharper now, seeing not just a failing store but a flicker of what it could be. Clara was one person, but she was proof that care could still live here, if only someone fought for it. Henry stood, slower than needed, and shuffled toward the exit, his disguise intact but his purpose clear. Tomorrow, he'd return as himself, not to fix a spreadsheet, but to rebuild what his father started, starting with the people who still believed in it. Henry Walsh sat in his office, the weight of the previous day's disguise still clinging to him like dust, though the wig and glasses now lay discarded in a drawer. The city skyline glowed faintly outside, but his focus was inward, fixed on the notepad in his hand, its pages scrawled with stark truths. Ethan's lie, Marcus's apathy, Clara's quiet integrity. Store 12 wasn't just failing in numbers. Henry's fingers tightened around the pen, his jaw set as he recalled the sting of being dismissed as George, the old man nobody noticed. He'd seen the store's soul laid bare: indifference where warmth should have been, neglect where care was owed. Enough of filtered reports and polished excuses. He tapped his phone, summoning Richard, his VP, for an urgent meeting. Minutes later, Richard strode in, tablet glowing with charts, his voice smooth as he launched into metrics. "Store 12's conversion rates are holding, accessories up 3%, he said, swiping to a graph. Henry cut him off, his tone low but sharp. "I was there yesterday, Richard, not as CEO, as a customer." Richard's fingers froze on the screen, his confident smile faltering. Henry leaned forward, sliding his notepad across the desk, the names Ethan and Marcus underlined in black. "I asked about a tablet, $499 on the sign. Ethan told me $799, didn't check, didn't care." Marcus ignored a customer holding headphones, walked right past. Richard opened his mouth, but Henry pressed on. Clara fixed it, checked the system, told the truth. She was the only one who acted like this company means something. The room grew heavy, Richard's tablet dimming as he set it down. "I didn't see that in the data," he muttered, shifting in his seat. Henry's eyes didn't waver. "That's the problem. You're watching numbers. I saw people." He clicked a remote, pulling up security footage on the office screen. Ethan slouched at the counter, scrolling, laughing, oblivious to a woman waiting nearby. Marcus, adjusting a TV display, turning his back on a hesitant customer. The time-stamp crawled minutes of neglect piling up. Henry let the silence speak, then turned to Richard. "This isn't a bad day. This is Store 12. Richard cleared his throat, grasping for control. "We can retrain, adjust schedules, tighten KPIs." Henry shook his head. "KPIs don't show a lie. They don't show a customer walking out feeling small." He stood, pacing to the window, the photo of Thomas watching from the desk. My father built this company on trust, not targets. We're losing that. Richard nodded slowly, unsure. What's the plan? Henry turned, his voice steady but laced with resolve. We start with accountability. He called the assistant manager at store 12, arranging a meeting in the back office. An hour later, he stood in the cramped room, no disguise, just Henry Walsh, CEO, his presence filling the space. Ethan and Marcus entered, Ethan chewing gum, Marcus's arms loose, both unprepared. Sit, Henry said, his tone calm but unyielding. They stood, Ethan squinting. You're the guy from yesterday, the tablet guy. Henry nodded. I'm also the man who signs your checks. The air shifted, cold and sharp. Marcus's jaw tightened, Ethan's gum chewing stopped. I went in as a customer, Henry said, to see what's broken. You lied to me, Ethan, about a price. You, Marcus, didn't even look at the floor. Ethan stammered. I thought the promo ended. I didn't. Henry cut in. You didn't check. You assumed I wouldn't notice. Marcus shifted, mumbling. It was busy. Henry's gaze hardened. Busy doesn't mean invisible. He let the words hang, then spoke again. You're both done here. Effective immediately. Ethan's face paled. Marcus's shoulders slumped, but neither argued. The assistant manager stepped in, escorting them out, as Henry turned to the door. He paused, spotting Clara across the floor, helping a customer with a cracked laptop. Her voice patient, her smile genuine. He walked toward her, the store's noise fading into the background. Clara, he said, stopping her mid-sentence. She looked up, startled but composed. You're the reason this place still has a pulse. You showed. Upper eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief crossing her face. I need you to lead the floor, Henry said. Not manage, lead. Can you do that? Clara swallowed, her hands trembling slightly. I've never led anyone. Henry's voice softened. You already are. She nodded, a quiet strength settling behind her eyes. Henry stepped back, the weight of his decision grounding him. Store 12 wasn't fixed, but it had a chance now, because of one person who cared when no one else did. Clara stood in the center of Store 12's sales floor, her new name tag reading floor manager, pinned slightly off-center. The store buzzed with early customers' phones ringing, a printer jamming at the service desk, a toddler's wail echoing. From the accessories aisle, but it was the weight of her new role that pressed heaviest, not the chaos. Yesterday, she was just Clara, the one who fixed mistakes, who listened when others rushed past. Now, she was expected to lead a team that barely knew her. Some still whispering about Ethan and Marcus's firing, their skepticism sharp in stolen glances. She took a breath, smoothing her ponytail, and called the morning huddle near the break room. Her voice steady, but softer than she meant it to be. Thanks for being here, she began, facing a semicircle of tired faces, some nodding, others staring at their shoes. I know things have been rough, but we're resetting. No one gets ignored at customers, not each other. Liam, a lanky employee, with earbuds dangling, leaned against the wall, scrolling his phone, his eyes barely lifting. Clara's gaze lingered on him, her tone firm but kind. Liam, I need you here with us. He pulled one earbud out, smirking faintly, testing her. The room tensed, but she didn't snap, just held his gaze until he pocketed the phone, half compliant. She turned back to the team, laying out the day's priorities, clear the return backlog, restock tablets, greet every customer within a minute. As the group dispersed, the store erupted into its usual frenzy. A man waving a broken remote, a woman demanding a refund without a receipt, a delivery truck delayed by an hour. Clara moved between crises, her steps quick but calm, directing Jason to handle the remote guy, helping Sarah untangle a warranty issue, her own task list growing longer by the minute. By noon, she was everywhere, checking inventory, answering a call, showing a nervous new hire how to log a repair ticket. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she didn't falter. Even as a customer snapped about a wait time, his voice loud enough to turn heads. Clara listened, apologized, sincerely, and offered a loaner device, her voice a steady anchor that turned his frustration into a nod of thanks. Across the floor, she caught a glimpse of Henry, no disguise now, standing near the TVs, his arms crossed, watching not with judgment but with a quiet intensity that made her stomach knot. She wasn't sure if she was failing or succeeding, only that she was trying. During a brief lull, she leaned against the service desk, catching her breath, when a single father approached. his son clutching a cracked phone, his small face etched with worry. "It's got his drawings," the dad said quietly. "He spent weeks on them." Clara crouched to the boy's level, her smile soft. "Let's save those drawings." "Okay." She walked them through a backup, even as another call rang unanswered. The boy's shy grin when the phone lit up with his art felt like a small victory. But the victories were fleeting. Him slacked off again, joking with a coworker instead of restocking, and Sarah fumbled a return, her confidence fraying. Clara's jaw tightened. She wasn't just fighting the store's problems but her own doubts. Could she really lead? She'd never run a meeting, never written a schedule, never had to call out someone like Liam without losing the team's respect. Henry approached as the afternoon slowed, his voice low, almost gentle. "You're carrying too much, Clara. You can't be everywhere." She nodded, her throat tight. "I don't know if I'm enough for this." He tilted his head, his eyes steady. "You showed up for that kid's drawings. You're enough for this." He didn't linger, but his words stayed, grounding her. Clara glanced at the team, Jason trying harder, Sarah learning, Liam still drifting, and knew this wasn't fixed. Not yet. The store was a machine running on fumes, and she was no mechanic, just a woman who cared when others didn't. But caring wasn't enough. She needed help, someone to teach her how to turn effort into structure, to make the team a team. As the day ended, she stood by the service desk, scribbling notes on a legal pad. Delegate more, train Sarah, talk to Liam. The store felt heavier now, not from failure but from possibility, fragile and new. She wasn't sure she was ready, but she was here, and for now, that had to be enough. Clara woke before dawn, her apartment quiet, except for the faint hum of the city outside, her mind already racing with the weight of Store 12's challenges, the team's uneven pulse, and her own untested leadership. She arrived at the store early, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, only to find Henry already there, his silhouette sharp against the dim lights, a phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, firm, cutting through the stillness. "Need someone who's trained real teams, not just pushed papers," he said, pausing to listen. 6 weeks, minimum, embedded on the floor. Clara hesitated at the breakroom door, catching his eye as he hung up. His nod, brief but heavy with purpose. He didn't explain, just motioned her to follow him to the office, where he laid out his plan. Evelyn, a retail veteran with a reputation for turning struggling stores around, was coming to guide her. "She's not here to take over," Henry said, his voice steady. "She's here to make sure you don't crack." Clara nodded, her stomach twisting with relief and nerves. She needed help, but the idea of someone watching her every move felt like a test she might fail. By mid-morning, Evelyn arrived, her short grey hair catching the store's harsh lights, her eyes scanning the floor like a hawk sizing up a field. She carried a plain black bag, no laptop, just a notepad and 2 pens, her presence sharp and unyielding. "I don't do fluff," she told Clara, setting the bag down. "I'm here to see if you're real." Clara swallowed, unsure whether to feel challenged or supported, but Evelyn's gaze softened just enough to hint at both. The day unfolded in a blur of demands. A shipment arrived late. A customer argued over a warranty. Liam lingered by the charger's earbuds in again, testing Clara's patience. Evelyn didn't intervene, just watched, jotting notes as Clara moved through the chaos, directing Sarah to handle a return, calming a frustrated mother whose tablet wouldn't sync. During a rare pause, Clara spotted a shy teenager hovering near the stopwatches, his hands stuffed in his pockets, his eyes fixed on a $99 model. She approached, crouching slightly. "Saving up for that one?" she asked, her voice gentle. He nodded, barely meeting her gaze. "Took me 3 months, mowing lawns." Clara smiled, not pushing a sale, just listening. "That's worth it. Want to try it out?" She showed him how to pair it with his phone, explaining features without jargon, her patience easing his nerves. He left with a grin, promising to return when he had the cash. Evelyn, standing nearby, wrote a single line in her notepad. "Listens first, builds trust." Later, in the back room, Evelyn gathered Clara, Sarah, and a few others, her voice cutting through the hum of the AC. "4 of you are working," she said, tapping the whiteboard where shifts were scrawled. "The rest are just here." She pointed to Liam's name, her pen sharp as a blade, drifting, hiding. Liam shifted in his seat, his smirk gone, the room thick with unease. Clara felt the weight of those words, knowing she'd let Liam slide too long, afraid of pushing too hard and losing him. Evelyn didn't wait for excuses. "Leadership isn't being nice," she told Clara later, her tone blunt but not unkind. "It's setting a line and holding it." Clara nodded, her hands clenching, realizing she'd been managing chaos instead of shaping it. By afternoon, she caught Liam joking by the TVs, ignoring a customer waving for help. She walked over, her voice calm but firm. "Liam, you're on tablets today. That customer needs you." He rolled his eyes, but moved, slower than she liked. Evelyn watched, her pen still, her silence louder than any lecture. Clara felt the lesson settle in. Leading meant making hard calls, even when they stung. As the day wound down, Evelyn pulled Clara aside, her voice quieter now. "You're good, but good breaks without structure. Delegate more. Trust Sarah. Call out Liam before he drags the team down." Clara exhaled, her doubts surfacing. "What if I'm not ready for this?" Evelyn's eyes narrowed, but her tone softened. "You're here. That's half the fight." She handed Clara a list: daily check-ins, mentorship plans, clear roles. "Build from this. You don't need to be perfect, just present." Clara tucked the list into her pocket, her fingers brushing her name tag, the word manager feeling less like a burden and more like a promise. She looked out at the floor, Sarah helping a couple with headphones. The teenager from earlier back with his mum, pointing at the store 12 wasn't healed, but it was breathing, and Clara felt its pulse in her own. Evelyn's presence wasn't just a lifeline, it was a mirror, showing Clara what she could become if she kept showing up. Clara stood at the front of the morning huddle, no clipboard, just her hands clasped loosely, her voice clear and warm, carrying a quiet authority that hadn't been there before. The team gathered close, Sarah, now confident in returns, Jason quick to greet customers, and Riley, a new hire who'd shown up early his first day, mopping the entry tiles before the store opened, his quiet act of ownership earning nods from the others. Liam was gone, let go after one too many earbud-clad shifts. His departure, a silent lesson. Effort wasn't optional. Clara's eyes swept the group, her words deliberate. "This place changed because some of you chose better, not louder, not faster, just better, kinder, more present." Heads nodded, a few smiles broke through, even from the newer faces, hired to replace the driftwood Evelyn had culled. The store wasn't perfect, deliveries still ran late. The printer jammed at the worst moments, but it hummed with purpose. Customers greeted within seconds, questions answered with care. Clara felt it in her bones. She wasn't just managing, she was building something real. Henry watched from the stockroom doorway, unnoticed. His black polo and jeans a far cry from the CEO's suit or the old man's disguise, his presence quiet, but heavy with pride. He'd come unannounced. No entourage, just a man checking on his father's dream. The floor told the story. Sarah helped a couple pick a budget laptop, explaining specs without pushing a sale, her smile genuine. Riley, barely a week in, guided an elderly man through a phone setup, kneeling to show him how to save photos of his grandkids, his patience mirroring Clara's. A woman with a toddler rushed in, her tablet frozen mid-update, and Jason stepped up, calming her with a loaner device and a promise to fix it by noon. Clara moved through it all, not frantic but focused, redirecting a new hire to restock chargers, checking a return herself when the line grew long. She'd learned to delegate, to trust Sarah and Jason, to lean on Evelyn's blunt wisdom. Lead the room, don't carry it. Evelyn, her 6 weeks nearly up, stood near the service desk, her notepad thinner now, her sharp eyes softer as she watched Clara orchestrate the floor. Her final note read, "Clara leads with heart, builds with steel." Henry approached Clara, during a lull, pulling her to the back office, a coffee in his hand, his voice low but warm. "You've done more than I asked," he said, setting the cup down. "This store isn't just surviving, it's alive." Clara's throat tightened, her hands fidgeting with her name tag. "I didn't do it alone," she said, thinking of Evelyn's tough love, Sarah's growth, Riley's quiet grit. Henry shook his head. "You set the tone. That's what my father did. He'd be proud of this." He pulled the faded photo of Thomas from his pocket, placing it on the desk. Clara studied it, the man's smile echoing Henry's, and felt a pang of responsibility, not just to the store, but to its story. "I want them to feel proud too," she said, her voice steady. "The team, the customers, all of us." Henry nodded, his eyes bright with something close to relief. That's the dream. As he stepped out, Clara returned to the floor, catching Riley helping. The toddler's mum, now smiling as her tablet powered on, her son giggling at a game. Across the aisle, a teenager, the same one who'd saved for a smartwatch, returned with his mum, cash in hand, his grin wide as Sarah rang him up, slipping in a free case as a nod to his effort. Clara paused, taking it in. The store's rhythm, no longer a battle but a dance, each step deliberate, each moment earned. Evelyn approached, her bag packed, her voice gruff but kind. You don't need me anymore. Keep the line you've drawn. Clara hugged her, a rare gesture that caught Evelyn off guard, her stern face softening for a moment. As Evelyn left, Clara turned back to the team, calling a quick huddle before the evening rush. We're not perfect, she said, her gaze steady, but we're here, and that's what makes us different. The team dispersed, their energy focused, their purpose shared. Henry stood outside, the Store 12 sign glowing against the dusk, its light no longer a facade but a promise kept. He didn't need to stay, he'd seen enough. Clara wasn't just holding the store together, she was rebuilding his father's legacy, one honest moment at a time.